for the record there. Well, let me get a second first. So it's been moved by Clerk Stamboylis. Is there a second? Moved by Stamboylis, seconded by Sanders. And the motion, just repeating it, is to authorize negotiations for the purchase of property 2022-3 pending proof of a vested title in the seller to the Township Council's approval. Is there any discussion?
Just would like to say, Joe.
Yeah, I'd like to
We'd
hear.
like to put this on the agenda in January. And then you should, if you wish to address us in closed session, you should arrange it with the supervisor in advance.
But we did offer, this would now be the time. So if
Yeah,
you wanted to do it in
I'd like
open
to hear what
session,
Joe has
you're
to
more than welcome, because we did offer that earlier.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
To begin, citizen. This is important for about 3 or really 10 reasons. We have an existential issue with respect to data centers, and this particular property, as well as other property and areas within Dexter Township, I hope are not targeted yet. But it is something that is an existential threat to the community. Karen explained to me the tax millage, the accounting, et cetera, which I was confused about. And I thank you very much. But we will have $1 million next year. And I have had a couple of conversations where people saying, oh, you're on this committee, what's going on? We're not getting anything. And because this particular acquisition requires a very small amount of funds, subject to the confirmation that the board needs, I think it's really important that it gets done. Because there are a lot of people that are waiting for this to get done. Once this gets done, we can start worrying about other ones. And I refer back up to this issue of the data centers. In Saline, some of the persons that sold that property became instant millionaires. And I'm sure that there are people within Dexter Township that are going to say, well, why should I conserve my property when I can sell it for millions of dollars to people that are going to put up a data center? And that's scary, very scary. And I understand the concerns that the board has, and they're good and they're legitimate. But I believe that Howell and Saline only wished they had addressed conservation easements more aggressively for environmental reasons and for reasons of perception. And perception is so important with respect to this. If the community that voted in favor of all of this perceives that we're not going ahead, that's going to have a negative effect. If they perceive we are going ahead, if they perceive we can do this and prevent a dollar store or prevent the destruction of a waterway or whatever, it's going to be a benefit for everyone, all the citizens who voted for this millage. And who knows how people are going to feel about millages in the future. And if they see perception, if the perception is we're doing a great job and they can walk and they can see, that's as important as anything else. So thank you for your time and effort. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional discussion?
Thank you.
I'm just gonna say here, because I think it's important, that from the board's perspective or from my perspective, we are willing, and that's why this motion was made to, to consider this. I just want to say that this is not being tied to action from the farmland or open space committee or the easement by this board. And I want to make sure that that's clear, that these are separate transactions, and that this was not of our doing, so to speak. So I think, the board is trying to be proactive in finding solutions. But I do want to make sure that this, that we're clear that this is not this specific thing that we're talking about is not actually a conservation easement. And so I just wanted to make sure that we had addressed that also in public session. I know I'm being a little vague because we have to be, but just wanted to make sure that I noted that.
You're noting that the 90-acre conservation is approved and is moving.
Is
forward.
approved and on our end, we have done everything we need to do for that to move forward. That's correct.
For the seller to sign those papers and put them forward, that no additional action needs to happen for that conservation easement to move forward, other than the seller taking it.
Correct. That they've had that paperwork for months, that the board authorized it, and that on our end is not tied to any of these decisions. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move into a vote. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Trustee Sickinga. Trustee Sanders.
Yes.
Clerk Stamboylis.
Yes.
Treasurer Metz.
Yes.
Trustee Nolte.
Yes.
Trustee Abbott.
Yes.
Supervisor Scott, yes, the motion is approved. I'll now entertain a motion to authorize the initiation of circuit court litigation if the demolition order, as we've viewed, is not followed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Metz, seconded by Nolte. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. We'll do another roll call vote. Trustee Abbott.
Yes.
Trustee Nolte.
Yes.
Treasurer Metz.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Clerk Stamboylis.
Yes.
Trustee Sanders.
Yes.
Trustee Sickinga. Supervisor Scott, yes. The motion carries. Moving on in our action items is the acceptance of financial transactions. Is there a motion to accept the financial transactions?
So
Been moved by Trustee Sickinga. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Treasurer Metz. Any discussion?
I just would like to bring it to the board's attention that on the check disbursement report, there was a software update, which you will see, there were several checks that had to be voided. They were reissued. The check number sequence decided to flip, so they printed backwards. As well as due to the same update, you will see that these staff and elected officials' salaries were all paid on that report. So you will see October and November. There's multiple payments. Yes, so they were brought forth to you last month in October, but they both populated on November's. But as you can read on the revenue and expenditure report, we are on track and everyone has been paid properly and accordingly.
literally
Correct.
destroyed the checks and reissue.
Unfortunately, it's happened once or twice in the last 5 years, and it's unfortunate when we have to shred those checks, but we were just able to reprint them and all was well with township billing.
Am I also making a comment on the revenue expenditure report, page 1? And it's so minor.
Can you tell me?
Oh, 24. It's so minor.
It's page 24?
Page 24
Okay.
55. And it's so minor, but it just hasn't been corrected, is the cleanup day fees, the $25 check that was put in the wrong direction, was supposed to be put back in and.
And trustee Nolte, I did correct that, but I corrected it the next day after I had printed these off.
Gotcha.
So I do apologize about that. So it has been corrected. You will see that noted on next month.
Said it was minor.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of accepting the financial transactions, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay. The motion carries. We'll now move into letter D, resolution number 25-694 on RFP preferences. That's on page 32 of the packet. Thank you all for carrying this over from last month when I couldn't be here. I believe that based on the conversation that we had at the meeting in October, that the changes that I made here to this version addressed everything that was brought up there. The biggest changes were to remove the provision here that said that it had to be in every process. And I apologize. This is the incorrect. This is the old version that's in our packets. This is not because we removed the MIT living wage calculator for Washtenaw County. This still says in all competitive bidding processes. So I apologize that I didn't catch this. I'll bring it back in January. Moving on, letter E, the Dexter Township Strategic Plan with trustee Sickinga.
Yeah, so you guys remember last month we discussed that the roadmap would not be part of the published plan. And we hadn't, I think everybody agreed with all the length. We've had lots of discussion and lots of time to think and talk about this. We've all participated in developing it, and we could have approved it last month, but Supervisor Scott was absent. So I asked if we could move it forward to this month to approve it when we could have the supervisor here present to vote on it, especially since the supervisor is listed next to many of the action items, and thought he should be here. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about it, but otherwise this is what I had understood. We all agreed last month, maybe even the month before would be the published.
But we're not putting action items in the plan.
Not
It's
not to be published, but
Right.
but every quarter
Right, well,
we'll have a board agenda item that
Yeah.
that has that roadmap in the board package and.
Any discussion or is there a motion? It's been moved by trustee Sickinga. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Abbott that we approve the strategic plan. Any discussion?
Should probably have dates on it, so it should probably be retitled like 2025 through 2028. Dexter Township 2025 through 2028. Sorry about that. Didn't think of it.
And you just want that in the title at the top? Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of approving the Dexter Township Strategic Plan for 2025 through 2028, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion carries. Thank you, trustee Sickinga, for all of your work on this process.
Right.
And we will now move into discussion items. The first discussion item is the discussion of DAFTE cost allocation methodology. And again, with trustee Sickinga.
Okay, so you guys are all aware that there's been discussion in DAFTE of convening an interlocal agreement committee to discuss and make recommendations to our respective boards, any desirable changes to the interlocal agreement, up to and including reconvening as a fire authority, which would be a big deal. But what's motivating many of the members to want to have those discussions is the cost allocation methodology, which is based on runs. That's, somebody from Dexter Township calls the fire department and it gets counted as a Dexter Township run. And then we total all the runs at year end and we figure out who had what percent, and then we allocate the costs the following year on that basis. That is a method that was put in place in the 80s when the fire department was primarily a volunteer run fire department. And when it's volunteer run, it makes a lot of sense to allocate costs on a run basis, because your costs are really driven by your runs. Then, fire department, volunteer fire department, somebody calls fire department and a volunteer firefighter gets called in and comes in response to that run, and then he gets paid. And so somebody calls fire department, there's a cost, Dexter Township pays the cost. Now we don't run on that basis anymore at all. We have 3 fire state. At that time, there was 1 fire station. It was in the city of Dexter, at that time, the village of Dexter. And all the firefighters worked out of that village of Dexter station. Now there's 1 station in each of the 3 participating municipalities. And those 3 stations are staffed with 2 firefighters 24/7. And that is kind of the big driver of costs for the fire department, and they call that readiness. So readiness is the cost driver. Often costs for fire departments, not volunteer run fire departments, but a typical fire department that is run by multiple municipalities would allocate costs also sometimes based on SEV, the total value of property in the municipality, because the idea is that the value of the property is what's being protected by the fire department. And by having the fire department there, homeowners pay lower homeowners insurance costs. If you can show readiness, then your homeowners insurance cost goes down. And the higher the value of your home, the higher your homeowners insurance is. So then the higher your benefit is from having that fire department present. That's the justification for using SEV. So we're going to be talking about all of this stuff at this committee, if this committee ever gets convened. We hope it will. And all of those things are valid reasons. Those are all good ways to think about allocating costs. The run basis is not such a great way, given how we're running our department now. The other downside for the run base is that it causes your cost to vary a lot year over year. So some years we might be paying 1.2 million, and the next year it might be 950,000. So it makes the cost a lot more unpredictable. So, and what has happened in the last couple of years is, for whatever reason, Dexter City's portion of total cost is going up. Maybe because they have more commercial, maybe who knows why, but for whatever reason, Dexter City's portion is higher. They have a lower population, so they have maybe 5,000 population. The other 2 municipalities have between 6,500 and 7,000. But what that means is that the per person cost for those residents of Dexter City is a lot higher than it is for the other 2 municipalities, even though our SEVs are higher, and we have readiness all the time. And so Dexter City has kind of come to us with their head in their hands saying, can you help us out? Because we're bumping up against our maximum expenses, and we're having trouble paying our, almost 40% cost of Daphne. Well, for us, it's very close to cost neutral. It's not going to make that much of a difference to us, because we're pretty close to 1/3 of the cost. Webster Township is something like 29. It's on that dashboard. That's the next page. Yeah, 28. Dexter City is, so it's really a negotiation between, it's really Dexter City asking Webster Township if Webster Township will pay more. And so I think we don't have skin in the game for this year, but in terms of long-term stability of our costs and fairness, I think that a methodology like the one that we discussed at Daphne, which is a mix of runs and readiness, is more stable and more fair. There are things that we can do to reduce the number of runs. When I took over as supervisor, I started having the sheriff's department. I identified our frequent flyers, people that call the fire department a lot, and I deployed the sheriff's department to go visit those people, make sure they're okay, see if there's any social services that could be provided to them, to, instead of calling the fire
They're
department.
medical.
Yeah, we can also do a quality check on the run data to make sure that that the costs are, that the runs are being allocated to us. So I see that there's some value in having runs included, because it encourages the municipalities to consider why they're having so many runs and take actions to help their citizens not rely on calling the fire department, but use different approaches. So I support it kind of in theory. But it's fairly cost neutral for us, although I will say that it does benefit us a little bit, and the little bit that it benefits us is just enough to make our millage sufficient to cover our fire costs, which, you know, I like that, of course. But I really don't know. I have to say, I don't know if Webster Township has any interest or willingness in,
Changing.
you know, I
It's
mean,
gonna go up for them.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's gonna.
Substantially.
It's basically gonna be Webster Township paying more and Dexter City paying less, and I don't know. And I think Webster Township does have a public safety millage. They don't have a separate fire and police millage. But I do believe their public safety millage has plenty of money in it, so they may be willing to say yes. But if all three municipalities don't say yes, it's a non-starter. It won't happen. But I think we should say yes to it, because it helps Dexter City and it doesn't hurt us. It's, you know. But I don't, does anybody have any questions or comments or anything you'd like me to communicate to the DAFT board about this matter?
I'll just add that we are, I am growing frustrated that this conversation hasn't happened. So the DAFT meeting about the interlocal, DAFT itself had talked about starting a committee. We were asked by the city not to, because they didn't think that it was DAFT's role to talk about the interlocal, that the municipalities should. That was back in May when they sent us an invitation. That meeting still hasn't happened. So the only frustrating thing for me, and I will say I support this for a year, which is what the request is, because we will be asked to pass our 2026 budget. DAFT is on a January 1st fiscal year. So we will be asked to pass our 2026 budget at our meeting this Thursday. So I support us doing this for the year, but I am also growing really frustrated at the lack of being able to come together to have the discussion. There is much more that we need to discuss in the interlocal than just the funding mechanism for this. Things that are important to me are parity in things like snow removal, repairs of the buildings, how we're stocking building, like there's questions around who's paying for furniture and those things in the new station. And that is not addressed adequately in the interlocal for me. So I wanted to say this here at the public meeting because Dexter City has been doing a lot of public discussion about what they want, which is just a cost decrease. And so I want to make sure that we also have on the record that I support that. I think our funding mechanism right now is completely broken. But I also think there are lots of pieces of the interlocal that need to be updated. And I'm growing very, very frustrated at what I would call gamesmanship when we need to be moving forward on a wholesale discussion about what needs to be done, not just a piecemeal approach. And so I will deliver that message Thursday as well. But do appreciate the board considering this, because I do think as an interim stopgap measure, one, as Karen said, it benefits the township slightly, ironically, just enough that we wouldn't we should say publicly too, just in case people forgot, we planned to overspend the mill. We have a fire fund that has a surplus. And so when we did the renewal, we did that as a renewal instead of an increase, intentionally knowing that we would overspend, predicting that this would be the first year that our millage didn't cover the full cost of service. So this would actually mean that next year would be the first time that that happens.
We were gonna
We're ahead.
offset, we were gonna use, by the end of the millage, we were predicting that we would need to throw 25,000 or 30,000 of general funds to the fire department. But this will mean we don't have to do that.
Yeah, it means it basically breaks even.
And Lonnie, I did say I would schedule that interlocal, and I didn't do it, but I will.
Well, that's different. But it's not, I want to be clear. My comments are not on you as the Dafty
Yeah.
person. It is the city asked us not to in May and have been stalling those meetings and it still hasn't happened. And now we're in a situation where we're passing a budget and they want a stopgap because they didn't come to the table early enough, in my opinion,
He scheduled the meeting without Webster Township.
without inviting Webster Township.
Invited, and we said, I don't think you're gonna get anything out of
Yeah.
Webster Township.
If they're not at the table.
They're not invited to the meeting.
That's bad.
So I just wanted to make sure that, again, Dexter City, if you watch their meetings, they are very publicly talking about this. In my mind, that's a public pressure campaign. And the reality is the ball's in their court and these meetings should already be taking place. And they're now asking each community to pass a stopgap measure because they didn't get stuff together for us to have a real comprehensive conversation.
And I think the way, I believe we pay them quarterly, and I don't know if we pay, do we pay on the
Monthly.
first of the quarter? But do we pay in advance or do we pay at the end of the, anyway, I think we still have time. So we'll see how the discussion goes on Thursday at the Dafty meeting. And if Webster Township just said no straight up, it'll be a dead issue. But if Webster Township agreed to it, then we'll bring it back to you guys for decision.
Any other questions or discussion?
So pretty much what Dafty is recommending is all three locations pay the same, with Webster Township using kind of significantly less runs.
No, we're recommending that a 50-50 funding model where 50% of the cost is for readiness. So 50% of the cost is divided 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and 50% of the cost is based on runs.
Okay,
So it would end up being, I don't know, we calculated it at the time, but it would end up with Webster Township going up a couple percent. Dexter City going down a couple percent, and us staying pretty close to this.
I think we lose 1%.
Makes
I
sense.
think we go down 1%. Any other questions? Comments? All right, moving on to our next discussion item. It's the fiscal year 2027 budget. We will have our budget workshop in January. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time tonight going through it, but I did want to go through and oh yes, and there's a new version 2 was put at your desk for supplemental material. So everyone should have it in front of them. Got it. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go through each and again, we will go line by line at the budget workshop. But I did want to give everyone a chance for initial reactions in case there are things that we need to adjust before then, or issues that we need to add to make sure that we're discussing in January. So a couple of things on the first page here.
I don't know where we're.
It's the other. It has a table of contents in front of it, Laura.
Okay.
this one, right?
This was that.
Yeah,
It's
that
in
one that you
here?
have is the 5-year.
Right.
At the 5-year analysis that goes in the
There we
back
go.
of the budget
Oh,
book.
There we go. Okay.
There
Thank
you
you
go.
very much.
So a couple of things to highlight on here. is you will see that we are losing on the revenues page for the general fund. So that first page there, we are losing some states' shared revenue. We are estimating that to be about $8,000 total of our lost revenue sharing. We actually make up for that in revenue from the property tax increases that are projected. So we do have a little bit more in the budget projected as revenue than over the current year, even though we're losing that state shared fund. Any questions about the revenue general fund or any discussion?
The assessor's tax roll for the tax.
We will, but we won't have that until like March. So these, these are estimates. But yes, when he gets that information later, we will plug that in.
And then the other thing I realized is with the interest income, are you forecasting that based on how are you doing that?
So right here, what you're seeing is actually a formula that Kim plugged in to do the end of the year forecast, which actually I'm seeing is I need to highlight that because I think that's where it is set to project based on the date that is entered in that first column at the top compared to the year-end forecast for our fiscal year. So it's a little bit of a different formula than we used last year, but we believe will be more accurate at predicting the year-end forecast.
I think the 126.
Yeah, I just circled that. I think what that is there's a mistake in the formula that it's making this half of our fiscal year is the 63, and it's just projecting that doubles, and that doesn't apply there. So any other questions or discussion on the general fund revenues? All right, moving to the next page. Page 2 is the start of our expenditures. We start with the assessor. We've got the Board of Review per diems set at the same for this year. And then the contracted service wages is based on the contract that we signed with Chris that included the increase because we signed I believe it was a 2-year contract. So this is the amount that includes that increase. Next is any questions about assessor? All right. Next is the general government line. You'll see we're projecting again, these year-end projections are based on a formula. So there may be some of them if they're not coming up correctly. Like I don't even see it. They actually look like they're all correct here. And that's where those projections are coming from. The wages section where you'll see that are increased maybe over the specific amount for this year is due to projecting out the cost of living increases at I believe it's 2.2%. It's in the notes. And then you'll see the assistant wages went up pretty significantly because we now have a second position. So you'll see the project manager is gone. And the increase in office manager wages is another part of and that's a proposal. So that'll be something we talk about, but that is a result of removing the program manager, shifting many of the program manager duties to the office manager, and the hiring of the the second assistant. So we essentially took that position, split it, hired another office assistant part-time, and then increased the office manager's duties. And so if you compared that back to last year's, we are still under what the program manager budget would have been between those two, the increase for the office manager and the hiring of the assistant. The other wages are obviously set by either the increase, if it's deputies, those are set based on calculating out the increases based on the formulas and cost of living. Hours are obviously set by the compensation committee. So they'll stay the same. Compensation committee meets in odd numbered years for even year salaries changes. So the salaries last 2 years. Any questions there in the general government lines?
The only, well, I don't think you've talked about healthcare yet. Was the healthcare in there?
Healthcare is in there. It's
Health insurance.
yeah, health insurance. It's right in the middle, just under deputy treasurer wages and above per diems.
So we're bumping
Lot
it
higher.
up 20,000 basically. Is there any way we can get the headers up here for the second pages?
Yeah.
Can we receive the headers, please?
Yes.
Because I'm slow.
Sorry, I
actually-
missed what you. Yes.
That's why
got
I'm
it.
here all the time.
Yes,
It kept right, yeah.
I'm sure that's possible.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, it's an increase over over our current. We did an increase already.
yeah.
So this would be the second increase. And this number may shift once now that the new assistant has been hired.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they have elected to take healthcare or not, but it will reflect that if so.
Just aren't we expecting some large increases for healthcare
Th-
nationally?
yes, although I will say ours will be really most impactful in the next
in the
budget
20
cycle because we will renew in July, I think is when we started. So because we started mid-year, it really is a little off. We're not on a fiscal year rollover.
Well, and I don't think that percentage is like 8% is what they're
Oh, is that
talking
what it
about.
is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think 8%.
Oh, still a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be
Good to know.
significant. But yeah, I think,
It's not like the healthcare market.
Yeah.
Right.
Employer sponsored healthcare isn't
Yeah.
gonna go up in the
Right.
same way that the
Healthcare market.
marketplace. healthcare
Yeah.
market.
so the only thing and the marketplace part of that was it wasn't necessarily an increase in the cost. It was the loss of the subsidies.
Yeah.
That caused such a huge increase for folks, but yes. And while we're talking about that, I will just say it now. I will probably say it. I just want to say thank you to the board and let everyone know how impactful that's been. For those of you who don't know, Thetford, which is one of the major employers in this area, decided that they were ceasing all of their Michigan operations. And so while I had not intended for my wife and kids to be on the township plan because they were there, we had no other choice starting in November. And so very thankful, not just for my family, but I know we talked a lot about the impact of healthcare on employees, on all of those things. And so just making sure that the board knows that I'm very thankful that the board made that decision. Again, not just for that it worked out for us, but for all of our employees.
Yay.
So thank you.
Hurrah.
Any other questions in general government?
Yeah.
Moving on to elections, which is kind of the header for that one is right at the top of it's right at the top of the page. So we have dropped in numbers here. I think probably by January, we'll have a better idea of these may have to go up a little bit. We expect that 2026 will be a big election. So these numbers reflect back to the 2024. Is that right, Michelle?
Correct.
Yeah. So,
No,
is that right?
yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
So it may
Presidential.
shift a little bit. We expect 2026 to be on par with 2024. Any questions in elections? All right, building and grounds. Any questions or comments there? Those are all staying relatively the same. Public Works, we do have to have a discussion. Well, that's not about the per diem, but we will have a WWRA discussion coming up soon about the SAD. But anything else within there?
If you're, can I just make a comment on the WWI
Yeah.
that we had well, maybe I'll do it at the end. Never mind. I'll wait until the end because it really doesn't have to do with the budget. It just
Okay.
has to do with.
All right, planning and zoning. Any questions or comments?
The health. Planning and zoning to general government.
We did. I just wanted one area for healthcare because a couple of reasons. One is because we only have one employee in planning and zoning. I didn't think it was fair that if Fletcher decided to take healthcare, that his cost was singled out from everybody else. And two, it helps us as a budget amount. When we enacted healthcare, we used that amount as part of the discussion when we made the budget amendment. And so just to reflect it there moving forward, I thought was easier so everyone understood the entire healthcare cost for staff. The only other thing that may change here, just so everyone knows, is was meeting with Steve Birch, the chair of the Planning Commission. And he is going to send over some numbers for some of the trainings that MTA offers. The Planning Commission members that took part in those really enjoyed them. We have enough. Essentially in the general government line, we have a large professional development line, which we've used before. And so we may decide either just to roll that there or to keep it here. This also pays for like Fletcher to go to some conferences and some of those things as well. So there may be an increase in that line, specifically under planning and zoning. Just based on attendance at the MTA conferences. Any other questions or comments? All right, page 4 at the top is community engagement. One of the increases here that you'll see is the Park Pass program. We, as you saw in Sam's report, I believe, it had another great increase in participation in the Park Pass program. And so just reflecting that increase and the potential for another increase next year. Everything else, I pretty much left the same as what we had this year. The only thing that I'm working on that might change is for movie night. I've talked about this a little bit, and now with Trustee Abbott doing the community engagement stuff, I'm gonna have a conversation with her. But instead of outdoor movie night, I'd really love to be able to do some sort of trunk or treat and show like a Halloween movie or those things in the basement. So even though we didn't do it this year, I did leave that carryover for next year in case we wanted to do that event.
Initial impressions that there should be a few more dollars in there because on the strategic plan, it had a lot of activities that we could easily do, but everything ends up costing us a little bit of money, so we should have a little.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone has any, and definitely, I know Trustee Abbott's been working on some stuff too. So any of those, feel free to send them over, and we'll make sure we get them in for the workshop. So I'm happy to adjust any of these numbers if folks feel like it. Community service support. Oh, I'm sorry. Any other questions about community engagement? All right, community service support. It left them relatively the same. All of these folks have been invited to present to us at the budget workshop in January. The only one that I did up is WAVE, and that is because Marie already came in and asked, and their ask this year is 20. Our ridership is up across the township, and she will present that information. Like I said, she's going to come in January so that we can ask questions. They are also now receiving some money from the older person's millage, so seniors can ride for free. And so lots of questions and things to do there, but she did specifically ask for 20, so I put it in as a placeholder. Any questions about the community service support? All right. One of the big ones that I want to make sure I highlight is the transfer to capital projects. We have a couple of items based on the capital study. And Sam put, I believe, a pretty detailed explanation in here about the elevator, which was supposed to be this year's big capital project. It turns out we don't have an elevator. We have a barrier-free lift, and that the components and all of the items that are in it, there is no need to modernize or change them. Sam and I met with the gentleman who has maintained it for decades. His grandfather, his father, him, and his son have all worked on our barrier-free lift. So what we did is we put a placeholder in for $30,000, which would cover essentially any catastrophic failure. So if the entire lift went out, the most expensive piece is $20,000. If the pump went out, it's 10. So we put in a buffer in case multiple things happened at once. The gentleman who maintains it every year estimates that there is at least 10 years, if not more, of life in every component, and recommends that we don't do anything right now. If we did want to change to an elevator, which was kind of what was put into the capital study, we would actually have to do a major building expansion and put it in a different place. He said it would be more expensive to move that than it would be to build an entire new elevator somewhere else. So I think at this point
We have a lip.
we have our lift. It is very functional. It meets all of the code requirements. And we are budgeting to carry forward in the capital in case something breaks on it, but there's nothing to expend this year.
I think I'm having trouble getting, I mean, I know you're talking about the transfer, the 135,000 transfer, which I get that we're not transferring like the cellular connectivity, that's funds that are already residing in there.
Yep.
So we took that back out. But if the expenses are 277 and we subtracted out from the transfer, the 100, I'm still not getting to the 135, so.
Where?
Maybe some of that, maybe the information system hardware is also a carry forward. It might be helpful to put just in parentheses on the capital, the list of capital projects, which are carry forwards and which are new appropriation, which are pulled from the general fund. See what I mean? You see how the proposed fiscal 27 expenses are 277,000, but the transfer is 135,000. I assume that that's because we're authorizing ourselves to spend carry forward funds from the prior year.
Correct.
But I can't really tell what's being carried forward versus what's newly appropriated. So it would be good if we could somehow note what the 135.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
What's new, and what are we just saying, okay, we haven't finished.
Yeah. That makes sense. We'll figure out a way to mark it.
I think probably the town hall basement too is a carry.
It is. All right. Any other questions around general fund before we jump into fire fund? You'll see too, this is the projection that shows what our current bill is projected to be without the change. So this may shift a little bit. Any questions on fire fund? All right. Police fund. One thing I want to highlight here is that our contract is up in 2026. We'll be up for renewal. They all are, all the police service contracts. And there is a committee that's been established by the Washtenaw County Board. I was asked to serve as one of the representatives on the committee to discuss what those contract changes and things will look like. And we will have a discussion that will have to be had at this board about the contract renewal. So this rate is set at our current rate, which will get us through the majority of our fiscal year, before that contract would change. I do expect that there will be cost increases. That has been the signal that we've received from the sheriff's office. And we will need to discuss, what our plan is moving forward for public safety. So currently we contract for 3 deputies. Based on staffing, there are very rarely 3 deputies that are actually here. Most of the time we are covered in the township with 2. So there will be discussion. They've changed how they do billing. So we are no longer billed for those deputies. We used to be billed for them, and then we would get what were called banked hours. If they weren't used, we could use those for special events, or at the end of the year, they would mail us a check back as a refund. That was really hard for the sheriff's office because they couldn't predict what those refunds would be. So they went to a system of no banked hours. And so we only get billed based on the amount of time that we actually have the coverage that we've contracted for. And that's why you see that these costs are much less. And when you're getting your reports, that's why they're not consistent each month, because we're actually paying for deputies' time as opposed to the full contract rate.
Gonna discuss the public safety villages in the next year.
I think we will probably have to as a part of these conversations. I mean, we'll be getting close to both of our millages. We're a 5-year millage. So starting that conversation early so that we don't end up in a similar situation to what we were in last time. And making sure that we are being thoughtful, looking ahead about the funding for police and fire. We did keep the maintenance contract as well. I will say that we left it at the same level. This year, it has been much less for maintenance around the warning sirens. They've all been tested and all the tests have been fine. We haven't had to spend much for any of that maintenance. So that's why that's lower than what's budgeted. But I do think we should continue to carry forward and plan for that amount, because those are things that could happen at any time. If one of the sirens is not communicating with the county, those kinds of things, they have to send someone out to fix them. Any questions about the police fund? All right, open space and land preservation. Any questions or comments there? All right, and the capital project fund, I've made a note to mark what is carry forward versus new from general fund. Are there any other comments about the capital project fund? One area that we'll discuss that you will see here is around potentially bringing in tablets for the boardroom to reduce printing and paper and all of this that we have all over our desks for board meetings. That would be available to all the boards and commissions that meet here, so that their packets could be digital if they would like them that way, and allow folks to use them during the meeting. We are exploring that, and we'll bring more information to the board once we have it. Any other questions, comments? All right. Any last questions or comments about the budget? Again, we'll do a much more in-depth discussion
I don't know.
in January.
Bonnie, where does this one go?
That is your 5-year. It goes, and I don't remember which page number, but let me look.
What page numbers?
That is the 5-year comparison. I just got to get to let me get to the,
Where'd you put it?
I don't know where I put it. I've lost it. I've lost it here.
So this stuff is going.
Was this? Yeah.
it's under the budget. It'd be under your 3rd tab, budget justification.
Budget 3?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everybody remembers because.
This is gonna go in the book.
We restructured
And
the
then-
budget.
Yeah.
The 5-year comparison stuff.
Oh.
Doesn't work yet.
Yeah, not for the expenses. Did everyone hear that? The 5-year, so that's your 5-year comparison. So that is 3B. on your table of contents. That's your historical expenditures, 5-year actuals. It's much better, as Karen just said, at predicting the revenue more so than the actual
But it
expenditures.
goes under tab 3.
But it is, yes.
We restructured the budget last year or
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
what happened?
Just leaving a paper clip, so I know that I just shoved it in here.
Any other questions on the budget? Please remember to bring your budget books in January. That's when we'll do our deep dive.
Are you
And we'll have
setting
our-
a date for a special meeting? At the
I intend for it to just be
at the board.
at our
meeting?
board meeting.
get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we end up having a ton of things that we have to do
Yeah.
in January, we'll discuss a special meeting, but my intent is
Gotcha.
for it to just be the regular board meeting.
Do these go in?
All right, hearing no other discussion, we'll move into staff and Dexter Township Committee reports. Is there anyone who would like to speak to their report?
So there is, so with the treasurer's report, you have an amended version of it. Yeah. So you're probably wondering where that $5 million went. So basically what it is, in BSNA, when I'm generating the report, it's report options and everything looked normal and I printed it and gave it to Sam to put in the packet. Going back in today after Karen had sent me an email about it, where's that $5 million? What I realized is that, yeah, in the report options, there's 3 basically clickable ways that you can, option that table out. And the one click was only looking at accounts 1 through 3.050. And it was clicked. And I don't know how, why, whatever, but I unclick it and
$5 million showed up.
yeah, right. So it was only pulling basically 1 through 3 instead of the entire thing.
I'm gonna have
So
to try that at my bank account.
Yeah.
What you really want is for it to give you.
so yeah, so that's the amended version that you see there is the proper one, not just a truncated account summary.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak to their reports?
I didn't write a report.
It's fine. All right, I just want to say a big thank you. I talked about it in my report to all of you. An apology for missing last month's meeting. I did end up in the hospital for about 3 days once I finally went to the hospital that night. Was severely dehydrated. And very thankful that everything went well here for the meeting. I apologize for missing, and a special thanks, as I said in the report, to the clerk for running the meeting at short notice. I felt really bad when I had to text her and be like, "Hey, this is all you. I'm not going to make it." So I really appreciate it, and am very thankful that the board is so good that it went off without any kind of issues. I also wanted to mention a couple of things. One is the Washtenaw County Road Commission is discussing the potential for additional funds for the road match program, and potentially talking with the state fund that was created around the local roads program, that there will be additional dollars for local roads. We should know more at the beginning of the year. There's a potential that the state funds will actually be substantial for our area, and that essentially we wouldn't have to put up a match. Those would be non-matching funds that are just spent by the road commission for our communities. And so we should know more really quickly, but Sam and I did meet with Scott Burby from the County Road Commission. The other great news about it is that because we've done such a great job on our local collector roads, even though we're projecting that we would need to spend the $100,000 or whatever a year on maintenance, he has done his review and actually believes that the majority of those roads are still in decent shape, and that we may not have to do the yearly maintenance on several of them. So he's going to bring us back some numbers. You all will remember that we we're able to complete those projects early, which saved us dollars initially, and which seems to be continuing to save us dollars.
Is it possible to explore with the road commission that are kind of, I guess maybe, I don't know which ones, but some of our dirt roads that are hardly traveled that could get some winter care, meaning salt or something to take care of ice?
I can ask, there was something about, uh, um,
Does it eat the road more?
I think it
don't know.
does. I think that,
Some
and
of the ice ones are.
yeah, we can ask for sure. And I don't know the answer to that directly,
They
but
had high ice times. I mean, it's not the time.
It will break down the road, but they could use a mixture of sand and salt.
Something, because some of them.
we can definitely ask. Um,
I stayed.
and
Get up there.
that was the only thing that I really wanted to highlight from my report. There's several other things. But anybody else that would like to talk about their reports?
The only thing
Sad.
we'll say is single hauler went public today. The first in the loop went out. Tons of emails are already coming into info. We ask that you keep sending people to info, so we keep one line of communication going, so we don't have different stories.
And the website and this form is on.
It's
people are
live.
starting to sign.
Yeah, 4 o'clock today,
Farm's
we're
live.
live.
So sign up yourself and
Yeah.
make sure that all your neighbor, just start talking to people and
Tell everybody, please.
And what's at stake is the waived fee for the delivery. So,
So even
And-
if you're already a customer, you sign up.
well, if you're already a customer and you don't want to change your service, if you're already a WM, their new name.
It's crazy.
So they changed their name,
WM
Waste
for a long
Management.
time. I know.
And if you're already their customer, you don't need to do anything unless you want to add.
Add,
you know,
Wanna
if you
add
want to
service.
recycle,
Yeah.
I do.
just-
Yeah.
It's
And if we want to,
basically-
what if we want to change, like, if we have a small recycling bin, we want the big one that they're offering? Do we need to?
Fill out an enrollment.
Well, I mean, that's gonna happen automatic. Everyone's gonna get new bins. Nope.
Non-existing customers. If you're an existing customer, you will not automatically get new bins.
Is that gonna
But-
change? They said
yeah.
they were gonna-
Yeah, but they've decided they're not going to. And what's gonna happen after we deploy carts and once we get through the first quarter, then we will have a cart review period and people will be given, this is not public information here, I'm making it public. They will be given one opportunity to switch out their cart size. But it won't happen on initial deployment, but I would fill out a.
Okay,
uh,
we'll talk.
Yeah.
I did not mean to ask a question that we couldn't answer.
Oh, there's a lot of ones.
That answer to that,
Here-
I don't think that this.
Here's the thing that I was gonna bring up before, and I'll just get your opinion on it. The first wave of questions that are coming in have a lot to do with our green bins. And so I really kind of think we should add a question to our survey on our website is to ask people if they feel, it's a great time to collect data. And we're gonna have to make a decision very soon on WWRA and these green bins. And it'd be a great time to collect our data on how residents feel about these. You know, you will be assessed $32 a year. Are you in favor of keeping the green bins in the town hall? And we can get a quick survey of probably the majority of our residents before we have to make a WWRA decision.
Are you also going to get data from Waste Management of those who don't opt into recycling?
We will have a list. We'd like as many residents to sign up by January because that will give us how many people are going to be trash, how many people are going to be trash and recycle, how many people will be all three or any mixture of it. We'll have a better idea of what the township is going to do, and that will also help us make decisions on that and how the residents feel.
Send you all the link to the, but the form populates a spreadsheet that we own. And so
Yeah.
we can see, for anybody that uses our form to sign up, we can see who signed up for
Yeah.
recycling.
Because that right there would be good data for.
Yes, we'll have great numbers. And that's what we encourage everybody to sign up by January, A, because we really want those numbers to help us make our decision. B, it saves the resident from having to pay any cart delivery
On January.
by
January.
January 31st, yes.
Yes,
If they sign up after that, they are going to have to pay for their cart delivery. So if you have trash and recycle, it's going to cost you $100. So sign up in January, you get everything free. We get the data. Waste Management has the data ahead to start planning all their routes because they're going to have to order a couple thousand or 4,000 carts. They have a lot of back end work to do. So we're really, really pushing the January 31st.
Any other, I think we've sort of skipped ahead a little bit.
Oh,
That's okay. Any other stuff from committee or staff reports? All right. Data and performance metrics. The fire department was actually included in your packet. The dashboard was included. And then the sheriff's report, it was included as supplemental material. Second call for public comment. All right, hearing none. Other issues, comments, and concerns of board members and staff. Trustee Abbott.
No.
Trustee Nolte.
no.
Treasurer Metz.
No.
Clerk
No.
Stabilis.
No.
Trustee Sanders. Trustee Sickinger.
I have to apologize to everybody because I got confused about the date of the January board meeting. It's a week earlier than I thought it was, so I'm going on vacation for a week in California that week and I can't change the ticket. So when I realized, so I'm really sorry.
When is it? When is the
I
January?
think that it's like the week of the 16th and I thought it was the week of the 20th. So I bought a ticket very intentionally. Works out real well. Yeah, because it does work out well because
Yeah.
you're tag teaming, so otherwise we would have both been gone at the same time, so it has a silver lining, but I still feel bad that I missed the board meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, a little announcement. There's a third immigration talk happening on January 15th. And I'm really excited about Dr. Bill Lopez, a young researcher and professor at the School of Public Health, who has written 2 books now studying local immigration enforcement and its effects on public health, not only the immigrant community, but extended out, trickled out into the effects on everyone. So I think that it's going to be really great and not to be missed.
January 15th at what time?
January 15th at 6.
In here?
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Fletcher, anything? Jeff? Janice? All right. With no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
You're here.
Moved by trustee Sanders. Is there a second? Seconded by trustee Sickinga. Any discussion? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 8:40. I thought so too.
Huh?